Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Okami. Last time, we defeated the Kusa 5 in the Gale Shrine and took care of the first Devil Gate trial over on, Ryoshima Coast. What's going on over here? They're really happy with old Ishaku. Howdy, Breach, looking mighty happy as usual. Thanks to you, I can have a life with my wife again. Oh god, Dami! Nothing makes me happier than spending time with her. If I can, I really owe you one. Can't believe that's Grandpa Urishima, sorry. Anyway, yeah, that's the thing. But before we go to this Devil Gate trial in North Ryoshima Coast, I want to show off a place where you can get a little bit more praise if you happen to need it. Unfortunately, Orca's not going to see a bit of use here because we have the water tablet and I feel like using that instead, pretty much. I believe it's that island over there, actually, that has what I want. You might remember seeing this, because we got this after, we saw this after we got Power Slash 2, and it's a nice little thing that says, hey, you got Power Slash 2, but it's not quite the most you can get out of Power Slash. You gotta wait a little longer. Also, I think Orca might have just been faster, and should have just used Orca, but whatever. Just this game, the water art direction is like my favorite thing in this game entirely. Also, the Tundra Beads like make a little ice particle thing behind it. That's really cool. I never noticed it. But over here is behind this red demon skull, a crystal rock that you can get down for, let me guess, 50 praise. 50 praise, right? Yep. Well, if you need more praise, there you go. Anyway, quick cut to the Devil Gate trial island thing place. So for this Devil Gate trial, I would suggest you bring steel fist sakes as well as just general equipment to fight. Traveler's Charms are kind of helpful. I might as well go and use these. Infinity Stones, you want those. And you might as well bring some Holy Bones. I wouldn't suggest too many because you have the wooden mat anyway. And Vengeance Slips. And that's about all you really need. Straight up. But you can use, again, whatever you want. I would still suggest Tundra Beads, Sub Reflector, Solar Flare, that is. But, again, speed up and let's get this going. I did that again. So, starting the second Devil Gate trial here in North Ryoshima Coast. If you don't remember, these Devil Gate trials are simply where we fought the bandit spiders, which were basically the Spider Queen. But, I suppose, male and called a bandit spider and had a bit more health and, like, more eyes or something. And there was fire in the arena for the bandit spiders, making them easier, even though they're supposed to be harder because you can just draw fire to them. And it's not like you won't have fire by that point because the only bandit spiders you ever fight are after you have Fire Burst or Inferno. So they're not hard. The issue with Okami is, well, one of the issues is that you fight some of the bosses a bit too much. Namely, the Spider Queen and Orochi. Spider Queen you fight up to this point 4 times, and up to this point with Orochi twice. And especially with Orochi, that can get a bit monotonous because Orochi's a bit of a slower fight. It's a fun fight, don't get me wrong, it's just I don't want to do it twice in a playthrough. And I'd be fine with fighting Orochi twice story-wise for the way this story plays out, but make the fights more different. Specifically True Orochi. You could have done a lot more with that than they didn't, but that was a weird sentence to say, but whatever. But why don't I like this Devil Gate? I never said I didn't, but yeah, this is my least favorite Devil Gate. I thought I said something about it, but I didn't. Just realized, whatever. A lot of the enemies in this, in my opinion, are tedious to fight. Like this, for example, these wheel enemies. Wheel enemies were always some of my least favorite normal enemies to fight. Overall, you know, I'd say that probably the dogs are my least favorite enemies to fight, because they're just slow, monotonous, kind of boring. I guess it's long. I don't even say uninteresting. I don't know. Something about them is I just don't like fighting them as much as I like fighting the rest of the enemies, the dogs. But also the wheels. I don't mind fighting them normally, because if I'm fighting them normally, at least in a normal playthrough, I'm not, you know, restricted to using the newest weapon. At least that's a self-restriction, but still. I can use any sub-reflector I want that I have that's the strongest. And here I can do that, which is fine. But they take so long to beat, and it's so obnoxious. But, for those wondering, you don't transition instantly from battle to battle. It just looks like that, 1, because I'm speeding it up, and 2, because of editing. You do have time in between each Devil Gate to heal or do whatever you want, or regain your ink. And that's again, why I would suggest a wooden mat. Since this is in a different video, and I didn't bring it up in this video yet, I don't believe the wooden mat basically heals you if you wait after or well, in the overworld for a while. I guess you could do it in fights, but definitely not suggested. I don't even know if Ami goes into an idle position in fights or if she's always ready to battle. I don't know. I've never waited in fights or had enough time to wait before I would get hit. But yeah, you just wait and you use the wooden mat. Instantly it activates, and you give up yen. Giving up yen may not sound like a good thing, but you get so much yen from these fights anyway, and you don't need much more of it anyway. The max you'll need is like 50,000 more yen to get 2 more pieces of gold dust that we don't have quite yet. That we'll be getting next video, yeah. Because these 2 Devil Gates, we're doing the last 2 Devil Gates in this video by the way, are the last side quests in the game. These will give us the last 2 stray beads that we can find, you know, scattered across Nippon. As I said before, there is 100 stray bead, and by before I mean like the first episode. There are 100 stray beads. However, there are only 99 to find across Nippon. The 100th, we'll get that later, and just don't even worry about it. We'll get it. Again, real enemies just. I mean, you can beat them fairly quickly if you, especially if you equip Thunder's Edge. They just go down pretty quickly, but still, I don't know. I guess if you use the element effective against them, they're okay. But one thing I do want to mention: the items in Okami, like Exorcism Slips, Steel Fists and Steel Soul Sake, Infinity Stones. Infinity Stones are the only items I ever find useful in my normal playthroughs. Specifically against Orochi and sometimes Lechku and Nechku and occasionally Ninetales, but mostly Orochi, because you're using a lot of brush abilities to counter his attacks, and as well as just damage him quicker, because you only have so much time when he's drunk to attack him. Otherwise, I don't really ever use items. I occasionally use Exorcism Slips if something's taking too long and I just want to finish it off faster. I use an Exorcism Slip in Orochi's fight as well, actually, to finish off the bell in the middle of the arena quickly and be able to damage him. Orochi's just the place where I use items. Everywhere else, like Steel Fist Sakes, I should use them more. I should say that, because those are actually really good. But I don't know, I just never feel the need to increase my attack power. I feel like I always do enough damage with a weapon plus gold dust, and by the time gold dust becomes abundant enough where you can basically use it on any new weapon you get and have enough by the time you get a new weapon that's really good, I feel that the weapons you get before that handle things just fine without gold dust until you get like Snarling Beast, I guess, maybe even the what was it, the Retribution Mirror? I can't remember the name now. The reflector that split apart and was blue and it was awesome that we got in Kusai Village. I can't remember the name quite now, but that one. The third one. The third one we got. And then the second bead we get was just, it was definitely powerful enough to handle things. I didn't feel like it needed gold dust. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't feel like items in Okami are necessary, especially Steel Soul Sakes, because you regain health somehow. I'm honestly not sure where all the health comes from in Okami that I get all the time. I just kind of get it and I'm like, well, cool, I guess I'm at full health again. I think enemies drop it. I'm pretty sure enemies drop it, actually. Also, I'm using Whirlwind here and it's not doing anything. But yeah, I'm pretty sure enemies just drop Spirit Orbs? I don't even remember the name of the bloody things that give you health. Spirit Orbs, we'll call them the name, and I'm pretty sure it's not the name. Yeah, I just don't feel like a higher defense is required in Okami, because you have Godhood already. You have jumping, which is a pretty good way to just avoid attacks. But, I don't know. Don't think I've ever mentioned you can actually relight their, well, because we never fought 2 of them, you can relight each other's cigar or pipe or whatever from the others. And that basically puts them in a perpetual state of being able to hurt them. You can also equip Solar Flare and just use that to draw flame, or I believe you could use Fire Burst. Though I'm not too sure. I'm equipping Solar Flare here just in case, though, because we're going to be fighting a lot of these things, and I want to be able to beat them as quickly as possible, meaning I never want them to become invincible. Pretty self-explanatory. So a while ago I did say that we were going to have one more side quest video than we did, and the finale would then be part 68. I ultimately decided that it would be best if I cut the amount of parts that we side quest in down a little, and just put these 2 in 1. At the time of recording the video where I said that, I think it was probably part 63. I wasn't quite sure if I'd be able to do that, because I wasn't quite sure how long these would take, how fast it would be, how fast they would be when they're sped up, how long they would take when sped up. I just wasn't sure. Anyway, interesting fight here. Foxfire. Last time we fought him, well, these guys, was actually in the belly of the water dragon. This is the only other time you're able to fight them, and they're they're actually the only unique enemy, I believe, that actually have a full finisher. You can power slash them and get 2 demon fangs, I'm pretty sure. I'm not positive, I'm just taking a wild guess that it's probably 2 demon fangs. That's what I remember, and I've played this game way too much, so I might be right, I don't know. So I don't really know what else to say here. Foxfire isn't exactly a difficult fight. The Devil Gates are kind of cool in that you do get to fight enemies that you don't get to fight much. We fought the crab and something enemy, I can't even remember now. The names. Like Jiro and Sabura, I think? I don't remember. They turned into a shark and it was cool, and we fought them again. The last time we fought them might have been like North Ryoshima Coast. But past that, I don't think there's another fight with them. I guess you could fight them again, North Ryoshima Coast, but they're an uncommon enemy, let's say that much. They're not like the green imps and red imps, they're pretty uncommon. Even black imps are kind of uncommon when you think about it, but not as much as the shark enemy that can split apart. Definitely not as much as Foxfire. Another item are revenge slips, which are basically a counter in a sense. They just, if you take a hit, the damage will be reflected to the enemy instead of you. So I guess while we're going through these, and there's not much to talk about until we get to the next Devil Gate trial, I can talk about a game I just beat recently. Xenoblade Chronicles on the new 3DS. I want to get the Wii version, because I'm sure it's a lot prettier. Though I wouldn't say the game is exactly... I've seen the Wii version. I wouldn't say the game is exactly pretty, but it's a lot prettier than on the 3DS version. And that's not to say the game doesn't look good. It's just from a technical standpoint, it's... not ugly, unimpressive might be the best word. And I understand why, because it's this massive world with no loading times in between this, like, in between, like, Gar Plane or whatever. Or Bionis, like, you want to be exact, but Gar Plane's the name everyone knows because Smash Bros. And the music being called Gar Plane. Basically, the first area you get to being huge, no loading zones in between that area and the next. You can walk 5 minutes straight in a line without going to a loading zone. That's amazing to me. Especially on a handheld, that's really impressive. Like, people see Xenoblade Chronicles 3D and say, well, it's not really an impressive port, and maybe it could have been done better, but at the same time, games where it's being ported from a more powerful system to a lesser powerful system aren't ever done incredibly well, most of the time, because it's just, I don't know, it's just not, I can't explain why. I've never ported a game to the new 3DS, or a 3DS for that matter, or anything, so, couldn't explain why. But yeah, it was a really fun game. The story I thought was fantastic. I've seen some complaints about it, but that was predictable. And some parts of that story were predictable if you've played the game, but you probably haven't. So, but yeah, some parts are predictable, others aren't. In fact, I'd say most aren't. But anyway, we'll talk about more of that later, perhaps. Devil Gate Trial 2 is done. That takes, I'll say, about half an hour to do, 35 minutes depending. If you spam items, you could probably do it a bit faster, but still, Stray Bead. We only have one more to go, guys, and that is in Kamui. If you go to the entrance of Webcure and jump off, there is a cave to the side of here. This is where we fought Bandit Spider originally. Well, in Kamui. For the 3rd time we fought Bandit Spider, and the 4th time technically we were fighting Spider Queen then. Or in, at least that boss concept. And head back in there, and you can find Devil Gates. I suppose I could talk about what is it hard to 100% Okami? With a guide, of course not. It's pretty easy because you have the locations of every Stray Bead. Is it hard though then to do any battles? I wouldn't say the Devil Gate trials are hard, especially if you have items, and especially if you have the 3 best weapons in the game. I would never say the Devil Gate trials are hard, just tedious, monotonous, long. Long is a good word, because I wouldn't say they're tedious, because again, I enjoy fighting in this game, but I don't know. I wouldn't say upping 100% Okami is hard with a guide. Definitely not. If you're doing it on your own, without a guide, kind of. Because that just depends on your experience with adventure games. Like, I had played tons of Zelda before this, so I was experienced in knowing kind of what to do and trial and error my way through 100%ing things where, oh, well, I explored this area in its entirety, I guess it's not here. Not that. I don't know how to say it, but I'm used to doing that sort of thing. I think it's easier in this game, actually, than in Zelda. Because even if you have a guide with Zelda, say you don't play it for a few days, you might not remember that you got this heart piece instead of that one, or that you didn't get this one. It's annoying, and I wish every game that had a collectible like that came with a sort of list in-game to do that. This game has that Stray Beads, and that makes it a lot easier to keep track of the Stray Beads you collect in each area. And it makes it easier to find out where to go and what to do. However, with the Devil Gate trials, I wouldn't say my first thought 100%ing the game my first time, which I didn't use a guide for it because I love the game so much. I wouldn't say my first thought was heading back to the places where I fought Bandit Spider to get a Stray Bead. I thought, well, I'm just missing something, a quest or a simple chest or something. I would never think to go back to the Bandit Spiders, I'm not gonna lie. I did it on a whim. I did it like, okay, well, I've explored literally everywhere else. I have no idea where else to go. I guess I'll just go here. Turns out it's in here. And of course, I wasn't prepared. I actually think the first one I found was in, it might have been, it was in one of the Ryoshima Coast. If it was North Ryoshima Coast, I definitely wasn't prepared. You don't really need to be prepared for the one in Ryoshima Coast. It's pretty easy. It's just, it can go on a while, but it is pretty easy to get through it because a lot of the enemies in there are weak or just easy to fight, generally. Catcall Tower, I think I did that out of frustration where I searched around that area for like an hour. I teleported up to it and then nothing appeared, nothing happened, so I was like, okay, fine, I'll climb it again, maybe that'll do something. Turns out that does something, it gives you a Stray Bead. So, I don't know if I'd say 100% Okami is easy or not, your first playthrough. I wouldn't say your first playthrough either. Don't 100% Okami on your first playthrough. Don't 100% any game on your first playthrough. That's my view on things. It's not, you don't need to. You can do whatever quests you find and go out of your way maybe for a few here and there if you know they're there for whatever reason. Like a friend told you saw it online somewhere, whatever. But I wouldn't say it's worth it to 100% Okami on your first playthrough. I would say go through some of the quests, like go through Science City and do whatever quests you can. If you're just talking to people, I think you will find enough quests to get enough praise to at least upgrade a lot of your things. You might not get your Astro Pouches all the way upgraded, or even your purse, which you don't really need the 4th upgrade for the purse, honestly. Do you need it for the super weapons? The best weapons, sorry. I don't know. I can't remember. I don't think you need the last purse upgrade. If I remember right. It's just a thing you can get. You don't need any more Astro Pouches. You barely need the first Astro Pouch, to be honest, but yeah, you definitely don't need the upgrades. But, yeah, if you just do enough quests, you can probably you can definitely max out your ink. That's the priority, and you can get most of your solar fragments, sun health, powered up, if not all of it. The only reason you wouldn't get all of it is if you didn't find all the sun fragments, which there's some that I can understand not finding. Some of them are pretty well hidden, like, actually the one in Webcure took me a while to find. For that reason, it's actually kind of easy to find, but for some reason I had a lot of trouble with it. I don't know what Stray Beads, sun fragments you might have had trouble finding if you didn't 100% this game with a guide. If you did it just looking around like I did. But yeah. What Stray Beads gave me difficulty? I can't remember. Maybe the one on the sunken ship, because I wouldn't think to go there, not on the sunken ship, like in the dungeon. Like actually on it. It's kind of as a Stray Bead in Ryoshima Coast where you either swim or lily pad your way to the sunken ship and actually jump on top of the wreckage and grab one. I think that one took me a while to find because I didn't exactly think to go there without entering the dungeon. But other than that, I can't remember any specific Stray Bead that gave me a lot of trouble. Besides the Devil Gates and Catcall Tower, which are just bullshit. They're not bullshit. Frustrating? I guess that's the best word for it. I don't know. So Devil Gate Trial 3, I might say it's my favorite. It goes on for like a really long, like 50 minutes. But I don't know, I really don't mind the fights in here. I think they're pretty fun. And I think it has the most interesting fights. You know, in North Ryoshima Coast we had Foxfire, woohoo, that's pretty easy and you just use Infinity Stones a lot and you'll have no trouble. But this one has fights that you don't see much at all. Actually, it has one fight that we technically saw more than Foxfire. But, still. It's just one. And even that's combined with a fight that we wouldn't see much. But we will get to that. We're fighting some red ogres here. And speaking of that fight that we saw more than once, technically, Waka! Not only one Waka, but two Waka. Two Wakas, two Wakai, two Wakanians. Wakus? Wakus. We'll call them Wakus. Like Wakukuns. Imagine Waka turning into a butterfly. But anyway, that's really dumb thought. Where's pink, though? Butterfly. All butterflies are pink, though, because they're stereotypically girly, so obviously that's to be pink. Anyway, we also fight Evil Rao. Two Evil Rao. I'm not even going to go into the whole polarization thing again. Yeah, you don't fight this more than once if you're just going through the main story, obviously, because then Evil Rao is Ninetales, who turns into Ninetales, and then goes to Oni Island. So it's very cool that you can experience these fights again through the Devil Gates, and granted they're going to be a lot more tedious. Like, it looks like I'm wiping these things out pretty fast. I sped this up, like, so much, because these fights can go on for so long, and they're very tedious, quite difficult, in fact, because you're fighting... I find Waka as a fight generally difficult, and Evil Rao to a degree as well. Fighting both of them at the same time, let alone two Wakas or two Evil Raos at the same time, is pretty hard. But also, I was going to say they should have, you know, if they had four, two Evil Raos, two Wakas, that would be real difficult. However, that might crash it. And I have personal experience with the game crashing during Devil Gates. And I'm not sure if it's an issue with the game overloading and not being an incredibly great port, generally. Or if it's just an issue with the Wii overheating. But during this recording, I did let the Wii cool off, or the Wii U, I suppose, cool off for about 10 minutes before between each recording. Which, honestly, a lot of that time was taken up by exporting audio, so I didn't really mind. Anyway, you know, it's gonna have to stick that break in between recordings, so. But yeah, I would suggest doing that as well, so you don't crash like halfway through it and like, oh god, I have to do this first 6 fights again. Got 5 fights again if you're gonna halfway, but whatever. But that's not the only time Okami has crashed for me. It crashed, one time I distinctly remember, I'm sure there's more examples, but one time I remember exactly for some reason. I had like just beaten the game, I was starting New Game Plus one time. This was on like my probably like 28th playthrough or something, I don't remember. Some ridiculous number. And I was going to Tama's house, and the cutscene for the Dead Fish entry started playing, and it crashed. I don't know why it crashed. I hadn't been playing for that long. Maybe like, because I had just finished the game. You know, I'd only been playing for a few hours, and I was like, I'll start New Game Plus, whatever. There's a New Game Plus, by the way. I should mention that. We'll get to that. Also, we're fighting Nagi. 3 Nagis. The only other time you get to fight him, and actually this fight is unique music. It's just the music they use here in fighting Nagi, pretty much. It's the only Devil Gate trial fight to have that, so that's cool. Unfortunately, we're not going to be hearing it here because I have music playing. This is what song did I believe I had I believe I had Xenoblade music playing for both of these. This is probably You All Know Her Names, if I remember right. It's one of them. It's either One Who Gets to Know. This is You All Know Her Names. I'm saying that now before I fuck anything up. Other song, by the way, was One Who Gets in Our Way. From Xenoblade Chronicles. Both from Xenoblade Chronicles. Love that soundtrack. Probably my favorite soundtrack of all time. Right up there with this game, Kid Icarus Uprising, Bravely Default, what I've heard of Brave Second. Also, if you see me go into the menu a lot, I'm probably just spamming exorcism slips to make things go faster. There's only 3 Nagis in this fight, which I kinda wish they would have had you fight. I don't know, what could they... You know what would be cool? What would be really cool? A fight with Isun. I don't know how they do that, but like it'd be cool. Anyway, that was the last fight, and you can see Golden Peach in the background. I don't even remember if I grab it. No, it's gone. And that is our final Stray Bead. Dear God. It is a process going through these Devil Gate trials and getting all the Stray Beads. It's a process getting all the Stray Beads in general. Especially planning them all out to get them in a coherent manner for recording. But anyway, that is every single side quest in Nippon done. We've helped as many people as we could. The only thing we have left to do is board the Ark of Yamato in Kamui. So, we're so close to the end of our adventure. I will see you guys in part 66 where we board the Ark of Yamato now that it's risen from Laochi Lake. And do whatever we need to do upon there. See you guys then.